Good morning, everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day. If you have your green on. The primary purpose of today's meeting is to adopt the vision statement and guiding principles. We thank you again for your passionate feedback last Friday. A quick turnaround. We do appreciate the positive statements we've heard from Jason and the mayor. On today's agenda, we're going to have a brief recap of the kickoff meeting last Friday. We will review and have an interactive session on the goals or vision statement and guiding principles. We will also talk about the upcoming stakeholder visioning session and open house. There will be an overview of the planning process. Again, we touched on it last time, and then we'll talk about next steps, questions, and have some closing remarks. Next slide. As you might recall, we did talk about the case studies, Spring Hill in particular. Jonathan went through that and some of the things that we could learn from that particular case study. And then looked at some infill projects, Jackson Walk, smaller project in Jackson, Tennessee, Cherry Hill Village at a crossroads in Michigan, and then Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. We then broke out into our 3 different groups for our breakout discussions, and we got great feedback, very passionate feedback, talking about where we are today, what the vision was, and where do you want to be in 10 years, and are we ready, and how do we get there? And then we touched on the Tipton County vision statement, guiding principles, and then also the overview of the planning project phases. Slide. So this is the interactive portion. This is the primary reason for this meeting. We're going to open up a poll after I read the statement, and we need you to vote with either a yes or no to adopt this statement. So this is the draft vision statement: to create a safe and inclusive city that builds upon its history, small town charm, and sense of community, where increased access to enhanced services and economic opportunities create diverse and engaging places, grounded in a foundation of community collaboration, investments in infrastructure, and fiscal responsibility. The way is going to open up the poll right now, and we are going to need you to vote. Do you see the poll on your screen?
Yeah, if anybody doesn't, please speak up.
Great.
Got some responses coming in. That's great.
There's 13 people, 200, and maybe 2 or 3 getting from their phones. So 10 is.
If you run into any problems voting, please speak up or send us a text in the little chat box. So either voice or via text.
We're at 9 votes right now. We need a few more to make sure we have.
Yeah. A is 1 person.
So let's see how many get through their phone. That one.
So maybe people double dial in. Yeah, screen info. Has anybody not voted? You could either text us or just say, and if there's a reason, that would be fine. Just so we would know. Tommy's right. Did Tommy just text? Or no, did Tommy just dial in? For anybody who might have just dialed in, we have the option. We're voting now on the draft vision statement to approve or disapprove, to not approve the draft vision statement as it appears on the screen. This is the same draft that was sent out by Scott earlier in the week. 15 participants and 9 votes. We look back up and make sure nobody's texted.
We're going to open the chat box too
and make sure nobody. Okay.
Here we got one more. Understood.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And I don't want to call out who somebody just texted us and said that they're only going to be able to participate by chat.
Yeah.
And so for that person, I don't want to call them out as an individual. Thank you for letting us know, and we appreciate, despite the emergency, that you are participating today in this at all. So thank you. That's an incredible level of commitment. And so what I would ask is that by chat, if you could tell us whether you approve or disapprove of the statement, and we will, we'll document that as part of the vote, if you've not been able to vote already. Okay, great, okay.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're gonna have to, I think we're, okay, then,
You do have a quorum with that.
yes, okay.
Okay, yes.
Okay, great, so,
Yes.
yeah, we received all yeses on this, thank you so much, that's great.
Going to move on to the guiding principles. All right, I'll go through each of these and we're going to take another vote. So number one, promote high quality growth characterized by a small town charm that enhances our historic assets and maintains fiscal responsibility. Number two, develop diverse places in the community to live, work, learn, recreate, and relax while providing opportunities for meaningful interaction for all residents. Number three, and we heard this from a lot of people, encourage infill development focused on corridors and gateways composed of a vibrant mix of uses that respects its context. Number 4 and 5, we heard from you that you like from Tipton County, so these are very similar. Provide guidance, regulations, and incentives that promote high quality development of well-designed buildings, site improvements, streetscapes, landscaping, open spaces, and infrastructure investments. And number 5, establish a strong foundation for continued planning excellence by coordinating among local governments, prioritizing community engagement, and a transparent, flexible planning process. And we're going to open the poll again.
Accountability, yeah. Yeah.
Number 1.
Yeah, but that's responsibility, which is different than accountability. We did receive a comment in chat that was to everyone. We can note that suggested adding fiscal accountability. So we have fiscal responsibility in point number 1 under the draft guiding principles. And I realize that fiscal responsibility and accountability are different things potentially. It depends on, I'm seeing all approval here on these 5 points though. So I don't want to disrupt that either. Scott, your thoughts?
Number 1 does sort of cover that. Responsibility could be the accountability as well.
I personally consider good fiscal responsibility in a public role of also that accountability is included in that. That's not just being responsible, but being responsible also means being accountable. Let me put it that way. What we could do is we could say maintain good fiscal responsibility and accountability. What I'm seeing here though is approval on these points. And so what we'll do is we've documented that we approve these 5 guiding principles for the city of Covington. And we'll go back around with the group after today. I don't want to disrupt the meeting too much of this process to discuss adding maintains fiscal responsibility and accountability to point number 1 there. What do you think, Scott?
I think that's great.
Okay. Because there is a difference there, and we do recognize that.
We appreciate your feedback on this.
So this is great.
Next slide. All right, we wanted to give you an overview of the stakeholder.
This one first. Everybody give yourselves a pat on the back.
Yes.
Like, really, guys, this was great. Again, I said this at the beginning of the meeting before we kind of got going for anybody who missed it. It was your open and honest and readiness to engage at our last meeting. That doesn't always happen. You went into the deep end, just head first, and that was great. So if it was not for your honesty and willingness to engage in the way you did, we would not have been able to get here just quickly. So, round of applause for everybody. This was really great. That's not just me saying this. This doesn't happen very often this well. So thank you so much for helping us and engaging like you have.
We also believe that those are very strong guiding principles that you've chosen.
Yeah, really. They really are good.
Okay, so we did talk a little bit at the last meeting about the April 25th meeting, which will be in Covington. So this would be the typical day. There would be 3 of these across the county for other parts of the county, but this one on the 25th would start around 10 a.m. with session 1, which will be focused on a stakeholder group of youth, education, and recreation. Robin has been working, assembling those groups for us. Then we would move into an 11:30 session, which would be general welfare and culture. Have a lunch break and then move on to session 3, which would be related to municipalities and utility districts. And then at 3:30, session 4 with geographic interest, we're talking about large property owners, maybe employers and interests like that.
And potentially, and I think that's also, we can talk about this like the neighborhood leaders, kind of the grassroots, spokespeople for neighborhoods, those who have have to represent different portions of the city, for example, and that might either be under session 2 or 4, right?
That could be under any of those. So if you have a certain interest that you hold close to your heart, let Robin know. I think that would be appreciated. And then that evening, we would be having the open house. So a reception would start, it'd be more of an open house. We'd have maps around the rooms, just an interactive discussion going on before the meeting. There would be a formal presentation at 6 p.m. And then we would do a breakout session after that, similar to what you had at your meeting last Friday. And we would be asking some of the stakeholders to help out with that as well. So you may be receiving a call from Jason or the mayor or possibly Robin to help out with those as well in the future. Next slide. During each of those stakeholder meetings, we would be discussing things, giving them an overview and purpose of the planning process, going through the goals, principles, and vision established by the steering committee, both with the county and with Covington. And then the existing conditions, we'd be talking about the base maps that we've assembled, some of the market conditions that we're learning about as we work with our consultant with the market analysis. And then talking about those development scenario ideas that we had in our last meeting. What we were talking about there was that corridor, the nodes, maybe the annexation areas and so on. And then special considerations for each group. So we'd be really leaning on those stakeholders to provide what that is that we are not really thinking about for their group. And then go into the next steps and questions and so on. Next slide. We touched on this last meeting, the phases. Right now we're playing catch up with the county. So phase 1, we're establishing today our vision statement, guiding principles.
So once again, great job.
Absolutely. And then as we're working through this and going into phase 3, we're still continuing to collect data, assemble those base maps. We're going to have some more maps we'll send out to you in emails. And we're working right now with the county on the website. So we'll give you more information on that later as well. And then getting into the public engagement process in April. And then the analysis of future potential development. So studying those development scenarios based on developability of the land and some of the market study. And then we'll be assembling that growth strategy report in phase 5. And that would also involve an open house at the end of that to unveil the plan. So you see we are here at number 2 today, our goals and guiding principles, the merger is coming up. So there'll be some training and again, the mayor and Jason may be reaching out to several to help participate with that meeting that's coming up on the 29th. But we really need everyone to participate on the 25th of April. That is that visioning work session with the stakeholders and open house, especially in the evening. Very important for you to be there and to provide your feedback and help facilitate that meeting as well. Next slide. So once we move through the public engagement process, one of the future scopes that we've been talking with the city about is to establish the design guidelines. And this is going to be a much more involved process to set the character of your community. So there will be a series of meetings with the public. We're going to need your feedback. There will be a lot of examples provided to help gauge what you're looking for in your community, what scale, what the materials might be, what you want your community, open spaces, streetscapes, your neighborhoods to look like for future development as it comes through your city. And there is a merger with the land use committee for for a portion of the steering committee. The mayor will be reaching out to you. Again, we're going to go through the market analysis and training at that meeting on the 29th of March. And we'll be sending out a lot more information related to that. Now, we did send the open house or website information to Robin to set up and begin to populate that with some of the meetings that we've already had with the county, so you can catch up on that. That information may be up and live possibly next week. It may be the week after. As soon as it's live, we will pass that information along to you, and you can pull up those meetings that have already occurred with the county.
And guys, I'm going to be straight with y'all on this. This is a little kind of off the cuff and less formal here in the meeting. You guys have been great on engaging, and I know you know your time both last week and then this week. We greatly appreciate that, and reviewing the material between and giving us your feedback. The combination of both the city future land use plan, combining that with the county, and then at some point running what will likely be in parallel, because of the need, there is a need for speed. We realize that to get underway with the city's design guideline process, that is an enormous amount of time potentially that we're asking from you guys. And at an intensity, a rate of intensity that's probably more than a lot of people could probably give, to be quite honest, unless this is their at least part-time job. And so with that in mind, Scott kind of alluded to this, with Jason and the mayor, or the mayor and or us, will be reaching out to the steering committee to figure out, of course, how to move that process forward in a way that doesn't burn you guys out and has respect for you guys and your time and your families and holidays and things like that we're going through the summer. And so what we may be looking at is that some of the members of this steering committee, we already have some that are already on the county steering committee, that we may be looking to expand that steering committee, the county one, to incorporate additional members from the Covington steering committee. That's likely to happen. But we also need to make sure that we have enough of you left to guide and direct us through the design guideline process. To ask anybody to do both would be asking too much, in all honesty. And this is based on our experience in other communities. And so just be looking for that discussion. Like I said, that'll be coming from, and that communication that'll be coming from either us, but more likely Jason and or the mayor, to talk about how we're going to proceed with that. I know that sounds a little confusing right now, and it is still a little gray zone up in the air, but we want to make sure that we're good stewards of the time that you are able to give us, and that we're also operating efficiently on our end, get everything out to everybody as quickly as we can, but as responsibly as we can too, both responsibility both to you guys, the city, and then also the public. So more information to come on that, on how that merger works, and essentially who will be focused on what. I will say this, we don't anticipate that to be a stark line, regardless of how it shakes out. We are still going to be looking for land use information specific to the city to come from this group. So there will be additional points where this steering committee will be dialing into the future land use plan, but more on that to come. And I'm sorry that that has to be a little vague, but we are running quickly on this, but we have kind of a general idea, but more communication on that to come.
Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Are there any questions? We're going to monitor the chat box for a while.
I know it's a lot, guys. And if you I may be interrupting anybody asking a question, and so I'll shut up here in a second. If you come across anything, if you're like me, you'll think about it about 5 minutes after the call. So if you do have anything like that, any comments or questions, just let us know. We're here. I can totally say this because it's Scott's email address on the screen. Reach out to Scott, reach out to Jason, and let us know what those are. If there are any questions or comments that you just think about after. But if anybody's got something now, please ask, please say something. We appreciate any and all feedback, comments, or questions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
We appreciate it.
Have a great day, great weekend. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and we will be looking for us to speak again soon. We'll be in communication.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
I.
Thanks, guys.
Go Tigers.